Hey, lovebirds. We are back with you for another February themed review. So, this is going to be of the 90s film While You Were Sleeping. Post Speed. This was the
Yes,
year
it was
after.
post
Yeah,
speed.
yeah.
Yes.
So, I think around the time she was
Mm,
starting to become a bit of a name, definitely.
yes.
Stalker, Sandra Bullock movie, basically. It's the one where the plot has dated a little bit, but it's the whole thing. She works in a ticket booth at a train station. She's got a crush on the Peter Gallagher character. He almost dies. He falls onto the tracks. She saves him. He goes into a coma, but then she meets his completely different type of brother, played by Bill Pillman. And unlike Sleepless in Seattle, the Bill Pillman character actually does get the girl this time. So
Yeah.
they realise that they're actually made for each other. But the long running gag of the movie is then the brothers have got this extended family. You've got a whole host of characters in that, a really big ensemble cast, and they end up through a series of misunderstandings, believing that they are engaged. What do you think of While You Were Sleeping?
Look, this is a fun film. I first saw this when I was like 13 on, I don't know if anyone else is old enough to remember this, but when you used to go on bus rides, when you'd go on excursions, like out of town with school, and they'd put a video on the bus, that's how I first saw this. I usually
Hmm.
watch it most Christmases. I didn't watch it this Christmas. I can't remember why, but I didn't get around to it. So when I rewatched it about a week or so ago, that's the first time I've seen it in a while. Like Keith says, it is a little bit stalkery, as are a lot of rom-coms from the 80s and 90s. And I actually read on IMDb trivia for this, and apparently the script for this movie originally it was gender reversed. It was a guy in love with a girl in a coma, and then apparently the script writers went, no, this is too creepy. We can't have this. Let's gender reverse it and see if it plays out a bit better. And then they found that it did play a bit better with a
Yeah.
girl. Yeah, because it would be a little bit creepy. But I think what really makes this film is Sandra Bullock. This was, as Keith said, this was just after she did Speed. And I'm pretty sure it was a combination of this movie and Speed that kind of catapulted her into the A-list category, which she then started to get more and more movies towards the late 90s, like Miss Congeniality, and so on and so forth, and then really became more of a rom-com star. But she is beautiful in this film. Her character, Lucy, is, you find out that the reason she allows herself to go along with this lie is she doesn't have a family. Her father's dead. She didn't grow up with a mother. Her mother died when she was really young. She doesn't seem to have any close friends. Really, the closest thing she's got to family is her creepy downstairs neighbor, Joe, who is always hitting on her and or trying on her high heels, depending on which way the fancy takes him. But I think Lucy's a great character, and I think Sandra in that role is so great. The extended family, like you said, are just fantastic. I mean, I think that's what really makes these types of movies from the 80s and the 90s is when you pack them full of these really fun characters where every character is their own kind of like, fun stereotype. You've got the old like loud grandma who's always yelling at people, and then you've got the overbearing mother, you've got the family friend, and like just everyone is just so much fun. Bill Pullman is also so charismatic in this, and like I said, like Keith said, if you've seen Sleepers in Seattle, watch this one because you'll actually get the girl in this one. And I think that he and Sandra have really fun chemistry and really make their interactions and their dynamic work. I think all the comedy of errors in this movie are fantastic. And the way Lucy just keeps managing to like wriggle out of like awkward situations. For example, the Bill Pullman character, is suspicious of Lucy at first, which, I mean, fair enough, like this random fiance suddenly turned up. Like, it is implied that Peter's not, like, the brother is not close to the rest of the family, but, he's a
Yeah.
little bit whatever. So he says to Lucy, like, there's this instance where he's like, prove that you're his fiance. And she's got this story about Peter only having one testicle, which she randomly found out because she accidentally bumped into a work colleague of his that told her the story. So, like, there's all these little, like, coincidences
Yeah.
and little comedy of errors that make the movie just work and continue to just move along. The fact that it's set at Christmas helps as well. Whenever you have a movie set at Christmas, because Christmas is seen as like a magical time of the year and a time of the year when miracles can happen, and like when there's always a bit of weird stuff going on in the air. So that I think helps add to the movie as well. That is
Yeah.
just you couldn't make it today because people would be, I think, too cynical today. But in the 90s, it was a really fun film. So I really do enjoy rewatching this film whenever I revisit it. How did you go watching it this time around?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, this is one I remember watching when I was growing up, a bit younger, and just being enchanted with it. And the Sandra Bullock character and performance, it is a big reason for that. She just makes a premise work than otherwise wouldn't work. Probably what you said before is right. Then by reversing it, the gender roles, it works a bit better because. There's a lot of films where it's been the other way round, so actually reversing it makes it a bit different and not as creepy, like you said. Lightning in the bottle, because they cast it so well. You have fun with the various family members. They all add a little bit of a different vibe to one another, but they feel like quite a realistic family as well.
Yes, they do.
And yeah, it is just watching the comedy of errors unfold, which makes it a lot of fun. But most important, like Sandra Bullock, Bill Pullman, they have good chemistry. Because if they didn't have good chemistry, then the film would maybe fall a little bit flat.
Yeah.
You need to believe in their relationship and really want to see them get together at the end. And like I said in our recent list video, Sandra Bullock and this kind of movie definitely feels like a throwback movie. It definitely feels like a screwball comedy style movie from the 30s, 40s. And that's why sometimes Sandra Bullock as an actress gets overlooked a bit, particularly during this period. Music, it has a certain like kind of music throughout, which makes it's winking and nodding. It's saying this is a little bit quirky, a little bit on the silly side, and just having some fun. The plot is quite unusual. Like, obviously, when we did our rom-com list, I had this at number 10, Bringing Up Baby at number 1, and I said there is kind of a link with them. You know, they both have quite unusual style plots. They are quite wacky at times, but. It's very well cast. Like, I had that moment where I was trying to figure out who the younger daughter was, and then it's the one out of Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, it is Stabby.
And what was it? Freddie v. Jason. She was in.
Freddie v. Jason. Monica Tina. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's adorable. She's really cute in the film. So But everyone, there's some legends, obviously, in the cast. Yeah,
I think it's a real pity what you said about Sandra Bullock, like not being recognized for her comedic skill, because it's very hard to make people laugh and to make people laugh genuinely, and to do this kind of role in the hands of a lesser actress. This character could come across as contrived, or, you know, like you just wouldn't buy into her vulnerability. But I think Sandra has that vulnerability, that comedic styling, you know, very Lucille Ball, very physical comedy. She does that zaniness very well. And it's, you know, like I was saying, like if you put someone else in this movie, it just wouldn't work. So the fact that Sandra didn't get recognized for this work for so long is a real pity. And that's why I think, and then people have said this, that when she won her Oscar, it was almost like for all of her work. Like we were giving her the Oscar to say, this is for everything you have done because you have been such a big part of Hollywood. But unfortunately, because of the type of actress she is, she doesn't really do Oscar-worthy film, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, all you have to do is look at her vulnerability and her adorableness in this film. Every scene she's in is just brilliant. And, you know, again, in the hands of another actress, this part could have felt malicious. You know, it could have felt like she was taking advantage of the family, or like she was like a con artist. But you never, ever feel that. Like there's a beautiful scene, because you find out, and Keith mentioned this in his, when we were doing our top 10 rom-coms, the family friend Saul actually does overhear her talking to the comatose Peter and realizes that the whole thing has been an error and that she's not who she says she is. And they have this really beautiful talk outside the family home when they've gone there for belated Christmas dinner. And he basically says to her, you know, those are my best friends. I would never let anyone hurt them, kind of like he's gauging her. And she doesn't even realize she's so innocent. She's just like, no, I would never let anyone hurt them either. And like, you really buy that sincerity in her. And I just think, you know, she's so great in some of the scenes. Like, I love the scene where she goes to feed Peter's cat, and the brother's with her, the Bill Pullman character. He's like, Peter doesn't have a cat. And then the cat just kind of wanders around the corner, and she's like, oh, hey, kitty, hey, Fluffy, yeah, come with me. And like,
that's a good
just,
scene.
you know, the way that everything kind of works out, really, it's just a lovely movie. And I mean, Bill Pullman, I really like Bill Pullman as well. Like, again, he's one of those faces who was around a lot in the 90s, always playing these kind of characters. The other big role I always remember him from in the 90s was Casper, of all things. He plays the dad in Casper, and he's, you know, he's really lovely in that. And I think that he works really well because his character, you know, again, in a different movie with a different actor could maybe be seen as a bit of a skis because he's, you know, he's hitting on supposedly his brother's fiance, but he's so natural with Sandra Bullock and their interactions are so sweet that I think that it just really works and it really makes the romance between the two of them believable.
Yeah, it sort of naturally happens. Like they don't really rush it, and they sort of slowly build a mutual understanding, and it gets to the point where they're sort of friends, but you definitely feel then there is like an integrity with both of them, that they're not gonna, I mean, especially with him, not so much with her, because the whole thing is it's not real anyway, like her link to the brother, but certainly with him, because he believes throughout the film, then although he's sus, but you know, he obviously, as far as he knows, they are engaged, so it's sort of a thing where it's like, okay, I can't morally do this, even though I'm interested in her, maybe. But as things slowly change and reveal, because it's not really till after the reveal, then they get together anyway. Even though they are tempted, sort of thing.
Yeah, because of course, with this kind of movie, you have to have the point where Peter wakes up from his coma. And I absolutely love the way that's filmed, because he wakes up and they've got the family standing in front of him, and Lucy's just kind of awkwardly standing there. And you see from his point of view, and he pans across the family, and he passes Lucy, and then the camera goes, huh? You know, like, I mean, he's just like, who are you? And then they decide that he has amnesia. You know, he remembers everything else in his life, but he must have just forgotten his fiance. And you do kind of get the feeling that maybe the family is in a little bit of denial as well, because Peter is supposed to be a bit of a putz. Sounds like he doesn't really spend time with his family. His girlfriend's horrible. His actual girlfriend is horrible. And then they meet this beautiful, lovely, down-to-earth girl who seems so, you know, warm and so sincere. And they're probably all thinking, okay, even if they're not actually engaged, he should be with her. And even the family friend has a scene where, like, he was going to go tell everyone what's going on. And instead he goes to Peter and he's like, you know what? You are a putz, and Lucy is an awesome woman, and you would be lucky to have her. So you get the feeling that it's not just that Lucy fell in love with the family, it's that the family fell in love with her as well. And we see in that scene where she goes over for Christmas, the way she kind of just fits in with them so effortlessly, you know, like it shows that it's almost like the love story is not just between her and the brother, it's like with her and the whole family, you know, like they as a whole unit are actually her love interest, and they are the ones that she's there for. The wedding scene, because, you know, Peter comes out of his coma, ends up proposing to her, and they end up almost getting married. And I just love that she comes into this tiny hospital chapel and they're all standing there, and even before the priest says a word, she's just like, I object. And he's like, yeah, I haven't gotten to that part yet. And then the brother's like, yeah, I object too. And they're all just like, what is happening? And that's right. And they turn to Peter and they're like, do you object? And he's like, well, I'm thinking about it, you know, and they have that whole, thing. And it's just such a great combination of like that whole movie. It's fantastic.
Yeah, because it's been a while since I'd watched it. So I actually forgot that they actually went that far where they were going to get married. And then you get so just for the farce, the sake of the farce, I absolutely love then they did go that far. And
Yeah.
this is the sort of movie. Some movies you say there's a limit where they shouldn't cross a line, but this is the sort of movie where I want them to cross the line because it makes it more entertaining. And
absolutely.
Sort of charming. Pillman, I think he's very good at playing everyman. You know, sort of quite understated yeah.
Kind of the boy next door type character.
Because I'll say about Peter Gallagher, he normally plays slime-bag, so I think he is set up here to be the one who isn't as likable. And I think probably the easiest paycheck he's got because he's like in a coma.
Just comes into work, takes a nap.
But no, they're quite effective brothers. But they're definitely Bill Pillman. Has that like every guy sort of charm to him, and you've got some wonderful like cast members like Jack Warden, Peter Boyle, who's wonderful as well. Bullock, and I think it's the way she comes across in real life, where she comes across as someone who doesn't take herself too seriously. Because
she's very down to earth.
Because like famously she appeared at the Raspberries,
the Razzies,
and she was handing out copies of the movie, and I know her and Halle Berry are the only two people to ever appear when they.
God bless them. Just bless them. I love when actresses can do that. I loved when Halle Berry went for Catwoman. That was just when you show that you don't take yourself too seriously, just makes you that much more likable. And Sandra definitely gives off that vibe. Like even in interviews and stuff, you see her and she's very laid back. She just seems like the loveliest person. And I don't think I've ever heard a co-star talk badly about her. I mean, have you ever listened to Keanu Reeves talk about her? I mean, he loves her and they have such a close friendship. And she's probably one of my favorite actresses. I really love Sandra. And I don't think I've seen her in a role. I mean, I've seen her in bad movies, but I don't know. I've seen bad movies, but I think she is almost always good. Even if she's in a bad movie. She'll do the best with bad material.
The range, because she was in Crash. She's in Murder by the Numbers. That's a really good
Murder by Numbers with Ryan Gosling. Yes.
She's obviously done Gravity, which is a sci-fi. So she has done a bigger range now.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's good to see. Comedy does get overlooked when it comes to awards.
Yes. And I think even more so with female actresses. There are comedic male actors that might get recognized, but I think female actresses in comedy in particular, less recognized.
And that's frustrating because, like making people laugh and the art of making people laugh and just having a charm to you, like, that's just as credible as like a serious,
absolutely
perform. You can't really say one is more important than other in its own field.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like this film is a masterpiece, because it's not a masterpiece, but it is a very enjoyable movie.
It's a very solid film. Yeah.
And the fact that she is so much of the reason why it works, I think that says something.
That's definitely.
Like, because the director of this movie, like, I know the name, but I can't really say what he's done much. So, and the direction's fine, but it's nothing.
It's fine, but it's nothing outstanding.
So to me, Sandra Bullock is the star of this movie.
Absolutely.
She's the one that carries it.
It is one of those movies that I would say you could have another director and it would probably still come across as just fair enough, because it's not a complicated movie, it's not a complex movie, it's mostly human interaction, things like that. But if you took Sandra out of this and replaced her with a different actress, you would have a completely different feel. And that's she definitely deserves the recognition for that. And like you said, the rest of the cast is really thing. It's actually funny. I just wanted to say, going back to Peter Gallagher, you saying that, because it's right. When it comes to movies, he usually plays slime balls, but I know him best from The OC, where he plays one of the best TV dads ever in existence. Sandy Cohen is like probably only second to Keith Mars when it comes to awesome TV dad, like he is brilliant. So seeing
Okay.
Peter in this type of role is very interesting for me because I'm so used to just seeing him as Sandy Cohen, who is just a fantastic, beautiful, warm character. So, but I think because we talked a lot about Phil and Sandra, but I think Peter, for the very small role he has, is actually quite good as well. Like, I think he plays like Peter's confusion, his sliminess. Like, you can tell as soon as he wakes up and starts talking that he's not a great guy. And I absolutely love at the wedding, his girlfriend storms in and says, "I object." And they're like, "Who are you?" And it's like, "That's Ashley, Peter's girlfriend." And then this guy walks in behind her and says, "I object." And they're like, "Who are you?" And Peter's like, "That's Ashley's husband." And they're like, "You proposed to a married woman?" Like, he's just such a terrible person. So it was fun to see Peter Gallagher play that kind of role again because I am so used to him from the OC now.
Yeah, and I sort of think Peter Gallagher, he's one of those actors who there's more of his type of actor in Hollywood than there is like the Sandra Bullock or like the bigger and the reason is because you need someone to play these kind of roles. You need someone to be the foil to the bigger stars of the movie. Very solid for what he is, like, but he's never going to be a big star. Like, he just strikes me as, but because he has enough of a CV, because he's been in enough things, that means he continues to get work. He's like reliably sort of solid. So that's why he keeps. And he can just play like different versions of, like, he's a lawyer, he's a doctor, whatever. Like, he can be like regular sort of characters because he's not like overly charismatic, or you don't overly, apart from being, he normally plays slime bags, but in general you don't really think of him as like being like a bulky sort of monster or something where it stands out type thing.
Yeah. Well, for me, his standout role is the OC. And I think it's because he had 4 seasons, so he had time to work on the character and get to know the character and everything. And you do really see him with a lot of range there. But yeah, I mean, I've seen him in bits and pieces here and there. The only other notable movie role that I can think of is Center Stage. He plays the director of the American Ballet Company, and he is a putz in that one as well. So yeah.
I've not even heard of that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's in American Beauty. He's in.
Oh yeah, he is too, isn't he?
Yeah. Him and Annette Bening in that. Yes. He's in. He's in Malice. I don't know if you've ever seen Malice.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's like an early 90s thriller. You might. Bill Pullman again. Another Bill Pullman. Yeah, so these things come around. But yeah, you might quite enjoy that one. But actually, I will say, like, the funniest scene in this movie might actually be involving him, and it's the one with his girlfriend when they're in the, when she's like, when talking about like the surgery, the plastic surgery.
Oh, yes. He's like, "Well, I want your nose back." He's like, "I paid for it. I want it back." And she's like, "Well, you also paid for these." I do remember that.
That's hilarious. And the reaction of the guy in the next bed is so funny as well. Yeah. So that's funny. That might be actually the biggest laugh I got.
That was a good scene. I mean, this whole movie is just laugh out loud, really fun. I think they really stick the landing with the characters, even with the minor characters, even with the creepy characters like Joe Jr. from downstairs, who's always sniffing around.
I was going to say that they do make him quite likable. Like,
they do, even though he's sleazy and weird. He's also kind of oddly because he's oddly protective of Lucy. Like he tells off the Bill Pullman character, and then when he breaks up with the girl from upstairs, he like comes crying to Lucy, and she's like, "Do you want to try on some of my shoes?" And he's like, "Yeah." So he does have a certain charm to him.
Yeah, so it's almost like he has a mini arc, because it's like at the start of the movie he's just being a bit of a sleaze, but then they actually do become friends by the end.
Yeah, it's kind of cute.
So that's nice. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
okay.
No, it's a really lovely movie. Oh, and I just got to add, I do love, of course, where the title comes from. At the end of the movie, she gets married to Bill Pullman's character, and there's this little voiceover, and it's like, she says, "Peter asks me when exactly it was I fell for his brother, and I just said, it was while you were sleeping." I always just thought that was cute. That was a cute little way to like name drop the title in the movie.
Would you rate the movie?
Look, I would probably give this movie, I'd probably give it about a 7.5 out of 10. I don't think it's spectacular, but it is solid. It's cute. It's a really fun kind of Sunday afternoon watch or something that you throw on at Christmas. So, yeah, I'd go at 7.5. And that's probably elevated a bit because of Sandra Bullock and she's so good, but it's a very enjoyable film. So that's my rating. What about you?
I agree. I was going to go 7.5.
Nice.
But I think for rom-coms, because a lot of her rom-coms, just from what I know of them, and I haven't really seen that many, but I get the impression they're not going to be that great. So I think this might be one of her best I mean, if you count Miss Congeniality, I think that's I
don't
generally
count that as a
enjoy
rom-com.
but I don't
That's more
really
just a
count
straight
that as a
comedy.
rom-com.
Yeah,
that's
this
fair.
is definitely one of her better rom-coms. Because she's done some others that have been not great. Have you seen Forces of Nature with Ben Affleck? Oof,
No, I'm not
that
seeing
one was
that one.
bad.
I saw a bit. I don't know if it counts as but I saw a little bit of the one. You know when she's in like rehab, it's like 80. Is it 80
Oh,
weeks or?
yes, I remember that one. 28 weeks or something
So
like
yeah,
that.
that's right.
Yeah. No, I never saw that one.
Okay.
The Proposal was okay, the one with
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, but again, I think that was more because those two are so likable. The actual movie was. And then she did this one with Hugh Grant in 2000 called 2 Weeks Notice, which again was not great. So I definitely think
I've
this is
heard
her
of
best.
that one. I've not really seen it, but okay. Yeah, and I think when you see her in Speed with Keanu Reeves,
She's great.
yeah, you can probably see why she has been cast in so many rom-coms because although that's not a rom-com, I think their chemistry and their relationship and she's very good in that at playing a character who's vulnerable but also a very feisty sort of character. Like she's no sort of pushover type thing.
No.
That's good stuff. And while we've been doing this review, I actually thought, because we're going to start doing director seasons, but I think we should also do actor seasons as well.
I'm on board for that. There are some really great actors and actresses.
Is a good example of, because there's definitely different kinds of films we can do with her. You know, while you were sleeping for the Valentine's season, let us know your thoughts on this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. You can share us out on social media and support me on Patreon for just $1. So that's patreon.com/boardnow. And just to flag up something movie related on there, because I've been doing commentaries for the Indiana Jones movies. So I've done Raiders of the Lost Ark. I've also done Temple of Doom recently. And I'm planning on doing Last Crusade in the next week or so. So
cool.
You can get those commentaries for just $1 a month.
You can follow me, Rachel McDonald, video essays on TV shows and movies. I don't think I really have anything on rom-coms on there, but who knows, maybe in the future. My Tumblr is also linked through my YouTube, and I am on there all the time because I have no life. So come and follow me everywhere.
Thanks, guys. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.